Transcend the Culturescape, learn to question the rules of the world you live in. Law 1. Transcend the Culturescape. Extraordinary minds are good at seeing the culturescape and are able to selectively choose the rules and conditions to follow versus those to question or ignore. Therefore, they tend to take the path less traveled and innovate on the idea of what it means to truly live. Take a critical look at life and you'd realize we're somehow governed by rules set by people who were here before us. The rules are often silent and unspoken, but they affect every area of our lives. For instance, there's a general conception of education and success. It goes thus: go to school early. Earn good grades. Secure a good job. Get married and save enough for retirement. If you play your cards well, you'd be a success in the eyes of many. But we really have to draw back on our definition of success and happiness. The simple fact is, it's all about you. If you're not happy, then you're not successful. Short and sweet. The author was a victim of the culture space. He grew up believing it was impossible to achieve success if you didn't study medicine, law or engineering, so he was forced to become an engineer even when he didn't like the field. As a computer engineering student, his goal was to land a job in Microsoft. This was in the 1980s when Microsoft was a big thing. He eventually did. Everybody applauded him. His family were happy, his professors were proud of him, but he felt unfulfilled on the inside. He knew he had to quit, but at the same time understood that resigning would not just brand him foolish, but as well break a lot of hearts. So he forced his manager to fire him by constantly allowing himself to be caught playing video games when he should be working. He returned to college and studied what he loved. Many of us are caught in a similar web. We're unconsciously being governed by rules set by our society. The sideline is that this kind of living almost always makes us live unhappy, unfulfilled lives. But the good news is, the majority of these rules can be questioned, and broken if need be. According to the author, only the rules of physics and rules of law should be unquestioned. It's important to not confuse the hard rules of nature with rules set by our ancestors in a bid to ensure safety. The rules of nature can't be changed. It's simply impossible, but the invisible, cognitive rules set for safety are subject to questioning. The author calls these cognitive rules the culturescape. This is because they indeed form our cultures and how we respond to situations around us. For instance, it's your culturescape speaking when you believe achieving great success is tantamount to pride and arrogance. At best, our culturescape confines us to the ordinary life. To live an extraordinary life is to live above limiting cognitive beliefs. The first step in doing this is identifying what beliefs are wrong and which are true. What follows is mind reconstruction. This aspect may be painful, but it's simply because you're breaking free from the chain that has held you bound all these years. If you endure the pain and continue reconstructing your mind, you'll be amazed at the results your life will produce. Don't worry about how to make it happen, you'd find out in subsequent chapters. Much of how the world runs is based on rules made by people who weren't any smarter than us. Law 2. Question the Brules. Extraordinary minds question the Brules when they feel those rules are out of alignment with their dreams and desires. They recognize that much of the way the world works is due to people blindly following rules that have long passed their expiration date. The common notion about belief systems is that they are ours, which is to imply that we own the beliefs, but in reality, our beliefs own us. We are controlled by what we believe. It's hardly the other way round, although it's very possible to change our belief system. As hinted in the first chapter, people frame belief systems to help them interpret and navigate the tides of life. Sure, most of these beliefs were effective in the beginning, but many of them are seriously outdated. The author invented the word Brules for these limiting beliefs passed down from generation to generation. He defined it as Bulls **T rules that we adopt to simplify our understanding of the world. Brules are handed down from the people in our tribe, family, culture, educational system and so on. We usually grow up with them, thus subconsciously allowing them to dictate our lives. For example, where did you get your ideas about love, money, and religion from? You most likely just found yourself thinking that way. That's how Brules work. We inherit them in the formative stages of our lives, such that they inevitably form our inherent values. Don't get the wrong picture. Not all Brules are bad, at least having the good ones mean we don't have to reinvent the wheel. For instance, there's no point trying to learn how to plant and cultivate crops all over again. Some people have done that for us. An extraordinary life doesn't just neglect Brules. It critically questions them, finds the ones that are beneficial, then refines the outdated ones. Going back on our example of planting and cultivating crops, the extraordinary mind will consider what Brules are at work in that area, then determine if there is a better way to go about the farming process such that it reduces stress and makes him more productive. Some Brules worth challenging include, the college Brule, the loyalty to our culture Brule, the religion Brule, the hard work Brule. Take the hard work Brule for example. It may actually start as something good, parents trying to cultivate good virtues of hard work and success into the lives of their children. This is good and acceptable, but it becomes a Brule when parents, tribes, or the society at large push beyond the limits by teaching that hard work shouldn't be fun and interesting because it's called hard work. There are 5 common ways we take on Brules. They include childhood indoctrination, authority figures, the need to belong, social proof, the everyone is doing it mentality, and our internal insecurities. Now you know what Brules are and how we get them. Do you think you have any Brules you should deal with? Every one of us does. You begin to realize your Brules when you start questioning why you believe what you believe and why you act the way you do. The next section will show you how to debunk your Brules and create a new, positive belief system for an extraordinary you. Ready for it? Swipe left. Learn to accelerate your growth by consciously choosing what to accept or reject from the Culturescape. Law 3. Practice consciousness engineering. Extraordinary minds understand that their growth depends on 2 things, their models of reality and their systems for a living. They carefully curate the most empowering models and systems and frequently update themselves. The author's background in computer engineering helped him develop critical thinking abilities. It helped him begin to ask the why behind everything he did. And he got his answers. The answers turned him from a broke guy to the founder of a global company. He learned that you can change the quality of your life by consciously choosing what to accept from the Culturescape. He calls this consciousness engineering. According to the principles of consciousness engineering, our belief system can be likened to the operating systems in computers. What do you do when an operating system no longer serves you well? Upgrade, right? Right. We can do the same thing with our minds. You have the power to change your beliefs because they are not you, they are simply programs in your mind. Consciousness engineering helps you achieve this. Consciousness engineering is all about being conscious of your beliefs and making sure you are not believing based on societal influence or personal experiences, but that you're believing what is right. There are 2 aspects to consciousness engineering. These include your models of reality and your system for living. Your model of reality can be likened to computer hardware, and your system for living, the software. The former refers to the sum total of your beliefs. As you already know, these were acquired through your years of living, basically from your social cycle and personal experiences. The most important lesson to learn about your model for living is that they can be swapped for new ones if they aren't producing the results you want. In essence, if you find that you aren't getting what you want out of life, you should stop and see if there's any belief limiting you, and most likely, you'd find a limiting belief hanging somewhere in the recesses of your mind. For example, it's a common belief that working out is the only way to lose pounds, but it's not really true. In one research, hotel maids were interviewed to find if they realized their daily activity of cleaning not less than 15 rooms a day was an exercise. Many of them didn't believe it was, so the researchers explained to them why it was. With the calorie stats provided, they succeeded in convincing the maids that what they did daily was enough to burn some fats. Surprisingly, when the researchers returned for follow-up, they found that most of the maids didn't just lose pounds, but also appeared healthier. When asked, the majority of them didn't report any change in lifestyle. What changed was their belief about exercising. Perhaps the key to the wealth, happiness or fulfillment you desire lies in swapping your beliefs. Our belief systems form our daily routines and habits. The way you eat is based on your belief about nutrition, same with how you raise a child, read a book and so on. These habits, or systems, are what the author calls the software of the human machine. Good news is, we can always change our habits as much as we can swap our belief system. Learn to intentionally help your kids and yourself swap your model of reality. Law 4. Rewrite your models of reality. Extraordinary minds have models of reality that empower them to feel good about themselves and powerful in shifting the world to match the visions in their minds. We've learned a great deal about how our beliefs are the only limitation we have in life, that, if you can identify and swap your negative beliefs for more positive and inspiring ones, you'd be able to effortlessly change the quality of your life. We've also established that we get these beliefs primarily from our social cycles and personal experience. Here's one more important thing to know about beliefs: we got most of them from childhood. This knowledge might not be important to you personally, but it'll help you a great deal when parenting. Parents play a vital role in the quality of the lives of their children. Your actions and inactions, whether intentional or not, are getting into the subconscious minds of your kids, and those experiences will dictate their worldview, approach to life, and the quality of success and happiness they enjoy in adulthood. Every parent wants their kid to grow into happy adults. You want that too. A golden rule in achieving this is to develop consciousness when dealing with your kids. Always ask what effects your behavior or words will have on your children before you act. This will help you make the right choice when dealing with them. As a rule of thumb, when kids do wrong, don't ask them why they did it. You'd be putting them in a tight spot if you do. Instead, ask, what happened? This will make them free to express themselves, and you'd get to understand them, then correct. It's also important you correct them in love. You can help your kids and yourself debunk negative beliefs by practicing gratitude and self-love exercises. It's preferable you do this at night. Our beliefs are like unquestioned commands, telling us how things are, what's possible and impossible, and what we can and cannot do. They shape every action, every thought, and every feeling that we experience. As a result, changing our belief systems is central to making any real and lasting change in our lives. Quote by Tony Robbins. Learn to get better by consistently updating your system for living. Law 5. Upgrade your systems for living. Extraordinary minds consistently spend time discovering, upgrading, and measuring new systems for living applied to life, work, heart, and soul. They are in a perpetual state of growth and self-innovation. We established earlier that there are two aspects to consciousness engineering: our models of reality and systems for living. The former was considered in the previous chapter. Now, we shall take a closer look at our systems for living and how they can be upgraded to facilitate extraordinary results. Let's start with a definition. According to the author, a system for living is a repeated, optimized pattern for getting things done. Every functional thing survives by a system of operation. Your mobile phone does what it does because it follows a system, a pattern. Planes fly in the air by a system. Disrupt the system and the heavy metal will not be able to go an inch above ground level. What about humans? We, too, survive by systems. In fact, it's quite interesting. Our personal systems determine if we are able to create a functional system in our world. For instance, only one with a great entrepreneurial system will be able to create multiple successful businesses. We all have systems, patterns, or routines for living. Your pattern of putting on pajamas, falling on the bed, and reading a book before sleeping is a system. Focusing on one task at a time to boost productivity is also a system. The list goes on. There are 3 basic processes to upgrading your systems for living. The discovery process. Education is powerful. We discover great strategies by committing to lifelong learning. By always learning, you'd be able to discover newer systems that work to produce better results. Your refresh rate. This refers to trying out new things at specific time intervals. Doing this will help you find efficient ways to do what you do. Lastly, set points and measurement. Get into the habit of regularly measuring your progress. You'll find what's working and what's not. Don't be afraid to swap systems if, after measuring, you find your current system isn't working. Tap into your innate ability to bend reality and become the ultimate you. Law 6. Bend reality. Extraordinary minds are able to bend reality. They have bold and exciting visions for the future, yet their happiness is not tied to these visions. They are happy in the now. This balance allows them to move toward their visions at a much faster rate while having a ton of fun along the way. To outsiders, they seem lucky. Have you ever had the experience of going all out, putting everything into your goals only to hit a hard rock, not being able to meet your targets? Many of us have. Sometimes, we get so engrossed in pursuing our dreams that we attach our happiness to the actualization of the goal, so we don't feel happy until the target is reached. This is a wrong model of reality, and it's the reason we don't often achieve intended results. Truth is, you have to enjoy the process if you're ever going to reach your destination. In the words of the author, have big goals, but don't tie your happiness to your goals. You must be happy before you attain them. The author learned this in the school of life. His business was crippled prior to discovering this principle. It was at the verge of going bankrupt. They weren't having their dream clients. No marketing strategy seemed to work. Simply, there was no progress. They constantly failed at attaining set targets. But things turned around when it dawned on him that he'd tied his happiness to the success of his business. That revelation marked an incredible model change for him. He learned to celebrate little success with his team, and it only took 8 months to go from $250,000 to $1 million in monthly revenue. The secret to happiness and worthy accomplishments is learning to balance between being happy in the now and being excited about your future. The author refers to this balance as bending reality. This state of living is fun and exciting. You'd be happy about what you do, so much so that you won't even feel the hard work. To you, you're just having fun, and at the same time, you'd be confident of the future because you aren't losing sight of your goals. Live in Blisspl, the discipline of daily bliss. Law 7, live in Blisspl. Extraordinary minds understand that happiness comes from within. They begin with happiness in the now and use it as a fuel to drive all their other visions and intentions for themselves and the world. In the previous section, we considered how happiness is pivotal in obtaining our desired heights. Now, we'd see how you can master happiness, irrespective of the situation you find yourself. The first thing to learn in this section is that your happiness does not depend on external factors. More often than not, people, things and our personal experiences toy with our emotions, making us think they're great influencers of our happiness levels. This is a wrong notion. No doubt, these things play some part, but the external factors are negligible compared to our inner system when happiness is the goal. Happiness is under your control. You alone can determine your happiness level. Don't believe it? Okay. If I slapped you on the cheek now, there are 2 ways you could react. Slap me back, or ignore me because I must be a real lunatic to attack a complete stranger. Either way, you chose your reaction, and your choice will determine whether you go home angry or with an amusing story to tell your friends. Happiness is locked up within you, completely out of the reach of anyone, sometimes, that include yourself. You can free your happiness by practicing gratitude, forgiveness, and giving. Learn to make sure the goals you're pursuing will lead to long-term happiness. Law 8, create a vision for your future. Extraordinary minds create a vision for their future that is decidedly their own and free from expectations of the culturescape. Their vision is focused on end goals that strike a direct chord with their happiness. It's good to set goals. Everyone that has climbed the success ladder can conveniently take hours telling you how important goal setting is. But the problem with many industrial nations is that society teaches people to set means goals rather than end goals. End goals are those that touch the depth of your soul. They produce the best in you, and they give your inner peace and happiness, in and of themselves, not because they confer any outward label, the standard of living or value propagated by the society. You know you're pursuing an end goal when, in Joe Vital's words, they scare you a little and excite you a lot. Means goals are motivated by what the society thinks of you, rather than your personal satisfaction. Means goals, as the word implies, are a means to an end, not an end in themselves. Be unfuhquitable, learn how to be fear-proof. To be unfuhquitable means to be truly at peace and in touch with yourself such that nothing anyone says or does bothers you and no negativity can touch you. It's a pervasive belief that to be a truly spiritual person, you must learn to disengage yourself from everything that excites other humans, wealth, career, big goals and ambitions. But all that is rubbish. Look into the history, and you'll find that the most spiritual people are those who make efforts to better humanity. Spirituality is not disengagement from earthly things, it's more about not allowing your joy and happiness to be attached to those things. In this state, you know that your happiness and personal satisfaction comes from within, not from external things. Having this disposition will make you unfuhquitable because no negativity can affect your state of sound well-being. The unfuhquitable mindset's self-fueled, end goals that are absolutely under his control. He knows he is more than enough and is not afraid of being criticized by others. Law 9, be unfuhquitable. Extraordinary minds do not need to seek validation from outside opinion or through the attainment of goals. Instead, they are truly at peace with themselves and the world around them. They live fearlessly, immune to criticism or praise and fueled by their own inner happiness and self-love. Embrace your quest, learn how to put it all together and live a life of meaning. We've come a long way. So far, you've learned how to leave the culturescape, practice consciousness engineering, and how to recode yourself. This section is the last of the 10 laws of the extraordinary mind, and in it, you'll learn how to integrate all you've learned into your personal experience so you begin to live the extraordinary life. You'll learn to find your calling. A calling is simply your contribution to the growth and advancement of humanity. It doesn't have to be something as big as founding a global business or coming up with the next groundbreaking invention. If it were so, many people wouldn't have a calling. But every one of us does. Your calling could be that book you're currently writing, the cause you're advocating, raising remarkable children, or anything. Your number one goal in life should be to find your calling. It's the only way you can truly make an impact in our world. A calling is often different than a job or career, but it's not out of place to make a career out of your calling. Naturally, the important question right now is, how do you find your calling? It's quite easy. You already know your calling, you parable are yet to be clear about it. Your inherent passions are powerful pointers to your life's calling. By taking an inventory of your end goals, you'll begin to see the purpose of your life, which is your calling. Law 10, embrace your quest. Extraordinary minds are motivated by a quest or calling, a drive to create some positive change in the world. This drive propels them forward in life and helps them to gain meaning and make a meaningful contribution. Conclusion. There's a secret to living an extraordinary life, an exact path that, if followed carefully, will make you extraordinary. Many people have discovered and applied these secrets in their lives, so there's no point reinventing the wheels. You can begin your journey to the extraordinary life by transcending the culturescape, questioning your beliefs and recoding yourself. Try this, begin questioning why you do the things that you do. Examine your belief system by practicing consciousness engineering, then put in efforts to recode every negative belief.